Hello friends, welcome back to another video of Automation Testing Insider. So as you all know that we are running a Selenium and question answer series, and as part of this series I come up with answers of Selenium framework related questions which I have posted on my blog long back. So this is the URL which I'll give in the description box of this video. So let me go to home page and how to navigate I'll tell you. So we have this Selenium question and answer tab, so just click on that, and here you'll find different questions on Selenium. So we earlier we talked about Selenium and automation testing, Selenium locators, theoretical questions on Selenium, user actions, and Selenium script. All these parts already I have answered. And in the last time we talked about Jenkins related questions. So till here we have covered all the answers. Now today we'll talk about Selenium framework related questions. Okay. So there are around 50 questions which are really important as far as interview is concerned, and you can clear your concept as well. So let's get started with Selenium framework related questions. So just click on that, and yeah, these are the different questions, guys. I have listed down here. So we'll go through one by one all the question. So let's get started with the first question, that is, what is automation framework, or what is framework? The simple question is, what do you understand by framework? So framework is a systematic approach, or you can say set of guidelines like coding standard, test data handling, object repository treatment. So this is set of guidelines, it is not hard and fast rules. Okay, so let me just go over the definition so you can understand better. So a set of guidelines like coding standards, test data handling, object repository treatment, etc., which when followed during automation scripting produce beneficial outcomes like increased code reusage, higher portability, reduced script maintenance cost, etc. So these are the different benefit we'll get when we follow the certain guidelines. Okay, when we follow the framework, so you can write your script without following these guidelines. If you don't use framework, still you can write your script, but when you follow the framework, you'll get the benefit of all these things like code reusage, higher portability, reduced script maintenance cost. Mind you, these are just guidelines and not rules. So as I said earlier, these are just rules, these are just guidelines and not rules. Okay, these are not hard and fast rules, they are not mandatory, and you can still script without following the guidelines, correct? But but you'll miss out on the advantage of having framework. So you will miss all these advantages if you don't follow the framework. Okay, if you don't follow certain guidelines of the framework. So this is how you can explain about the framework, like what do you understand by framework. And the second question is, what are the different types of frameworks available? What are the different automation frameworks available? So types of automation testing frameworks, so below are the different frameworks I have listed down. So I'll go through the definition of all these framework. So linear automation framework, so this is the first framework I have listed down here, and it is sometimes known as linear scripting framework, where we'll write a script in a sequential way. Okay, on a record and playback framework, it works like this. Okay, so tester create and write scripts sequentially, performing it individually for each individual test case, hence the record and playback. Basically this framework is also called record and playback framework. So when we record and what happens when we record and play, right? So simply we'll follow the uh, steps sequentially, and it will record, and then we'll play the recording. Okay, so this is how it works. So it is kind of sequential framework, a linear automation framework. Okay, modular based testing framework. So modular framework is like creation of small independent scripts that represents modules, sections, and functions of the application under test. So we'll divide the application into different modules, and then we'll create the framework, we'll script the framework, we'll script the functionality. Okay, testers are modular testing framework to divide an application into multiple modules and create test scripts individually. So this is about modular based testing framework. So this is the second. Third, we have library architecture testing framework. It divides the application under test into procedures and functions and in its place of scripts. This framework requires the creation of library files which represent modules, sections and function of the application under test. So we'll create the library in this kind of framework, library architecture testing framework. Data driven framework. So already we have talked about earlier, we have created the data driven framework. So data driven is a test automation framework which stores test data in a table or spreadsheet format, right? So this framework driven by the data, that is why it is called as data driven testing, data driven framework. So we'll talk about data driven framework in coming question. Okay. And a keyword driven framework. A keyword driven framework is a table driven testing or action word based testing. So basically what happens in keyword driven is based on keyword, based on the action we'll create the keyword and we'll execute those based on those action, or you can say based on those keyword we are executing our scripts. So this is used to speed up the automated testing by utilizing the keywords for a common set of actions. Let's say for login functionality we'll write a keyword login. Okay, so we'll write the keyword login and we'll write the associated actions in that login functionality, like that. And then we have hybrid testing framework. So we have hybrid testing framework. Hybrid driven framework is a combination of both the data driven and keyword driven framework. Keywords are maintained in a separate Java class file and test data can be maintained either in properties file or Excel file. Generally we don't use the properties file, it should be Excel file or XML or okay. So combination of data driven and keyword driven is called hybrid testing framework, and many people used to call when we use data driven framework with page object model, that is also called hybrid testing framework. What is the principal difference between data driven framework and keyword driven framework? So in data driven testing we can run our test on multiple data in multiple combinations with the help of parameterization. So this is called the data driven testing. So that is driven based on the, I mean the name says itself, right? It is based on the data. Here the data is treated as an input to the test script logic. Each data set can be treated as separate test case. In keyword driven testing, the keywords that are developed represent an action. A list of keywords maintained in sequence form a test case. Thus a keyword once developed can be used in multiple test scripts. So whenever we define the keywords, that can be used in multiple test cases. Let's say login functionality. So we write one keyword login, okay, and let's say we want to test for valid login functionality and as well as invalid login functionality. So we can use that particular keyword login in both the test cases. So what are the advantages of automation framework? So the main question is, what are the advantages of having automation framework? So utilizing framework for automated testing will increase a team's test speed and efficiency, improve test accuracy, and will reduce test maintenance cost as well as lower risk. So they are essential to have to an efficient automated testing process for a few key reasons. So these are the key reasons. It will improve the test efficiency, lower maintenance cost, because maintenance would be very less when we create a proper structure, when we create the framework. So maintenance would be very easy because we know like where we have stored our script, where we have stored where we have written our page classes, where we have written our test classes, where we have kept our utility classes, like this. So it would be very easy to maintain the framework. So let me show you. So this is Eclipse. So the framework which we have created. So here you can see the proper structure I have created, guys. Here you can see. So inside src main Java we have different packages over here, like action driver for action classes, action class, and action interface. For interface we have this action interface. For base class we have this base package, and we have these are the different test cases. So likewise we can categorize our script in a proper way in when we create the framework. Minimal manual intervention. So manual intervention would be very easy when we create the framework. Maximum test coverage and reusability of code. Okay, so these are the different advantages of having framework. So what are the different components of your framework, and explain each. So at the time of interview they will ask like what are the different components you have used in your framework, irrespective of whether you have created the framework or not. Okay, because ultimately you need to work as a in a team, and you need to understand the framework. So you should know like what are the different components in a framework. So related to this question, I have created a very good blog on this, very good post on this. So let me open this. If you remember long back, I have created a uh, what you can say the overview of a framework, Selenium data driven framework with page object model. And here I have listed down, I have created this image like what are the different components in a framework. So you can go through all these uh, the topics which I have written over here, the post which I have written. So key components in the framework. So these are the different components in a framework. So you can just go through one by one this blog, this post, and you can understand better. While explaining the framework, what are the points which we should be covered? Which should be covered? Okay. So this question answered in detail on question number 8. So we'll discuss in question number 8 about this, the answer of this question. So how do you decide a particular framework for a project? So to help determine which framework is right for your organization, ask yourself for the following helpful questions. So these are the different questions which we need to keep in mind to create the framework, before creating the framework. So consider the application and the technology involved, and think about the testing requirements. What is your actual requirement? What do you want, like for UI automation, for API testing, database testing? Like what is the, I mean, what is the what is your testing requirements? Determine license cost of the tools. So you can compare different tools, like what is suitable tool available, which can be used, and what is the cost, basically license cost of the tool, whether it is open source or it is license based. So you need to understand, you need to evaluate that. Evaluate the skill sets available within your organization. And yeah, if you see, Selenium with Java is widely used because most of the people using are I mean most of the people knows Java. So that's why we are using Selenium with Java widely. So in that way you need to understand like how many people in your team or in your organization, the skill sets you should know about different of your resources. Okay, so can you explain the Selenium framework which you have used in your project? So this is most important question, and people definitely will ask at the time of interview, like what are the different components, and explain your framework. So when we give any answer in the interview, the one and only important thing we need to keep in mind that it should be brief, it should be in brief and to the point. Okay, so that interviewer should not lose interest from your answer. So whenever we need to give answer about the framework, we can divide the framework in terms of different components. This is what I was talking about, which we are using to build a structure which we called a framework and which we use in our company. So this is really important point to describe your project and your framework. So we can start like mentioned below. So these are the different points I have written, guys, and we should explain the framework in this I mean step by step only. Okay, so let's start from the first point. We are using the page object model with page factory framework with functional and structure implementation. So you can start like this, and make sure you should know what is functional and structural implementation in this framework. Like you should know the complete flow of your framework. Okay, the structure of your framework you should know. You can draw the diagram as well. You can draw all the components of your framework while explaining at the time of interview. We are using the standardized Maven project for build, execution and dependency management. And then second point, you can mention that we are using Maven as a build tool. Make sure you should know about the build tool like Maven. Okay, so probably they can cross question you about the Maven related things, like do you know the Maven life cycle and all. So you should know about the build tool. Language and IDE, like which IDE you are writing the script. So we are using Java, Ruby as our binding language and Eclipse as IDE. We use Java because it is known to most people when we started automation, so you can answer in that manner. The fourth point is action driver. We also have library package to maintain common functions related related to all action, like methods, Selenium waits, directory creations, etc. Okay, so all the actions related methods we keep in this action driver. So if you remember, we have created this action driver package in our framework my store project. So here we have this action class. So all the reusable methods which will be used throughout the framework, we kept in this action class. We also have a base page class for common functions used by all the pages to load, config, properties, file and WebDriver initialization, and some other common functions which will be used throughout the program. So that is the base class we have here, base class inside com.mystore.base package. Make sure you know why we have a base page class in page object. And the fifth point is, so this is fifth, this should be sixth, I'll correct this. We have maintained a page class for every page in our application and a page test class to maintain test for that pages, like product listing page, add to cart page, payment page, invoice generation page. So these are the different pages. Let's say we have in application 15 pages, so we should have a proper separate Java class for each page. Like you probably know about the page object model, so make sure you know all know we maintain different page and different all different annotations in page factory. So the naming convention should be like this. And yeah, so this is for the package com.mystore.pageObjects, and naming conventions are very important, guys. And this is about the test class, like add to cart, sorry, this is for page and this is for package. So here you can see we have page object. So this is the package name com.mystore.pageObjects, and these are the different page classes we have. We have maintained a separate package for page test. Okay, so the package name should be like this, com.mystore.testcases, and test class should be like this, add to cart test.java. Here you can see about the test cases. These are the page, and here you can see com.mystore.testcases, and these are the different test classes we have. Utility component, so extend class, log4j class, listeners, data providers. So these are the different classes we have inside utility component. So here we have utility inside src main Java. I have one package called, where is that, second utility here, com.mystore utility, where we store all other utility classes like extend manager, listeners, log4j. For log4j we have log class, and excel library we have. For handling data driven cases, we are passing data using excel file or csv file. Okay, so here we have excel file. Inside this src test resources, we have test data folder. Inside that we have test data excel sheet. For handling data driven, yeah, that is done. And for ordering test, we are using TestNG framework. You need to explain about the TestNG framework as well. Okay, you have to mention that TestNG. Make sure you know how to use different annotations and run TestNG.xml using Maven. How to run the TestNG.xml, how you can divide the test cases into different groupings as well. So you should know, like here I have created different groupings: cross browser, regression, sanity, smoke. And then we are using extent report for reporting purpose. It is third party report and it is easily available at Maven Center repository. So this is about the extent report for reporting. And we check in our code into client repository using a version controlling tool git bash on Windows system. So for version control we are using Git and GitHub, like that you have to explain. And then CI tool, so we have integrated our project with CI tool, that is Jenkins, to run the build automatically. So the summary of discussion is, okay, whatever we have discussed is we should talk about all the major components in our project, like logging, emailing, page objects, page factory annotations, TestNG, exception handling, build tool, version controlling tool, data driven usage, etc. The next question is how you build object repository in your project framework. So page object model using page factory. So this is how we build the object repository. So here you can see, let me show you one page class so you can understand. Account creation page. So this is how we write the all the web elements using find by using a page factory method, and then we initialize all the web elements using this init elements. Okay, so this is how we store the web elements in our page class. What is test driven development framework? What is TDD? So test driven development is a testing methodology or programming practice implemented from a developer's perspective. In this technique, a QA engineer starts designing and writing test cases for every small functionality of an application. So the purpose of TDD is to make the code clearer, simple, and bug-free. So TDD instructs the developer to write new code only if an automated test has failed. So this avoids duplication of codes. The full form of TDD is test-driven development. So this framework is driven by the test. Okay, so the simple concept of TDD is to write and correct the failed test cases before writing new code. So before writing the new code, we should check our script, right, whether it is working fine or not. So before develop the new code, we should be ready with the code, and we should tell the developer, like, this is how the flow should be, and this is how the test cases are getting where the test cases are getting failed. So this helps to avoid duplication of code, as we write a small amount of code at a time in order to pass test. Tests are nothing but requirement conditions that we need to test to fulfill them. So we should cover all the requirements, okay, before developing the code. Like, this is how it should be it should behave, and this is how it should run our case successfully. So these are the different cases, like majorly 3 steps involved here. So write a test, watch it fail. So basically, first we write, before the development we write our test, and then we'll tell the exact steps, like the behavior should be like this, and then write just enough code to pass the test. Okay, so to just fulfill the requirement, the developer will write the code, and then so all things will be done in a small portion, right? In a small portion they will develop, and then they will deploy, and then improve the code without changing its behavior. So they'll just improvise the code without changing the behavior. So this is how it goes, the TDD. Test driven development is the process of developing and running automated tests before actual development of the application. Hence TDD is sometimes also called test first development. Before the development we should see the behavior. Okay, what is behavior driven development framework? Okay, what is BDD? So behavior driven development is a testing approach derived from the TDD methodology. Okay, so this is an extension of TDD. In BDD, tests are mainly based on systems behavior. This approach defines various ways to develop a feature based on its behavior. So in most cases, the given when then approach is used for writing test cases. So I'm going to start the BDD framework as well with Cucumber. Okay, so I'll explain you how we can work with BDD. So this is just an example. Let's take an example for better understanding. So we use Gherkin language. We have different language like J. We have Gherkin. Gherkin language is used to write the script. So we have here there are some keywords, guys. So we have given, when, then. Given, the user has entered valid login credentials. When a user clicks on the login button. So we'll write the test cases using simple plain English. Okay. So we'll discuss about this BDD framework when I'll start the BDD framework. So what are the main traits of a good software test automation framework? So below are some key parameters that a software tester needs to keep in mind while developing a test automation framework. So handle script and data separately, create libraries, follow coding standards, offer high extensibility, less maintenance, a script framework version control. So these are the different points we should keep in mind while developing the framework. And there are some tips which I have talked about at the time of creating the framework. When I have created this framework milestone project, so at that time I talked about these steps. So I can just go through all these tips where you have applied OOPS concept in your automation framework. So for this one, guys, I have already created a video. So let me open this video in my YouTube channel. So this is the video, Selenium Framework Development Part 10. So here in this particular video, I talked about different OOPS concept in this video. So you can just refer the link. How do you accommodate project specific method in your framework? So first, go through all the manual test cases and identify the steps which are repeating. Okay, note down such steps and make them as methods and write into project specific library. So you can create your own library in your framework and you can write down all the methods which are repetitive in nature. Where you encounter synchronization in your project. So synchronization is a mechanism which involves two or more components working parallel with each other. So there are two components. Let's say we have we have two components whenever we write our test. So the first thing is the application under test and the second thing is our script. Okay, so both should be in sync, right, when we write our script. So sometimes application is very fast. Okay, so we need to match the speed of application. Sometimes some elements are very what you can say very it will take too much time to load. So we need to write our script in such a way that it will match the speed of that particular element, the loading time. Okay, so in test automation, there will be a two components such as application under test and the test automation tool. Both of them will have specified speeds and the test script should be written in such a way that both these components will work with same speed. So I have written a very good blog, very good post on this guide, weights in Selenium. So you can refer this post. This is really important and this is really a very good post which I have written. Different weight commands in Selenium. So we have Selenium weights, implicit and explicit weight. I talked about each and every weights there. So you can just refer this blog. Which test automation framework you are using and why? So you can refer question number 8, which I have already answered. About this question also you can refer question number 8. Mention the name of the framework which you have hands-on experience. So please refer question number 8 again. And can you explain the Selenium framework which you have used in your project? So these are the kind of similar questions. So you can refer question number 8, which I have explained clearly, and you can go through the answer. Where did you implement hash map concept in framework? So if you refer this video, the last I think last video of our framework series. So let me show you this. So here I have given the link. So yeah, this is the video, guys. Selenium framework development part 9. I talked about usage of collection in framework development. Okay, so for one test case I have used hash map, so you can refer this particular video. And yeah, github link is already present over here, so you can get the latest code by using this github link. Why we are using constructor in frameworks? To initialize the page objects in page class. You can give the to initialize the objects, okay, current class objects. So in our case, in page object, to initialize the page objects in page class, you can give answer like this. Where to use abstract class in framework? So this is the video. I think this is the same video, not the same video. I think that is part 10. You can refer the part 10 in framework series. Yeah, so here I talked about oops concept, basically interface inheritance. So I talked about interface. And abstract class I have not used, but that is similar to interface. There is a difference between abstract class and interface, but yeah, you can refer the Java tutorials which I have given in my blog about the abstract class. So yeah, I have not used abstract class in our framework, but I have used interface. Which files can be used as data source for different frameworks? So some of the file types of the data set can be Excel, XML, test, CSV, etc. Okay, so these are different file formats we can use. How can I read test data from Excel file? So you can refer the video which I have created on data driven testing. So Excel and data driven framework. So this the video. So here I have provided the link, so you can refer the link. How can I read test data from Excel file? Yeah, this is the question which we talked about. What is the difference between POI and JXL jars? So difference between JXL and POI is that Java JXL does not support Excel 2007 plus XLS X format. It only supports XLS format. Okay, Apache POI supports both with a common design. What is a page object model and its advantages? So you can just refer page object model. We talked about a lot of time. So you can refer this whatever answer I have given over here. So it's a design pattern. Okay, so just go through like what are the different advantages of having page object model. I have clearly written over here. What is a page factory? So page factory is a class provided by Selenium WebDriver to support page object design patterns. Okay, so it's kind of implementation of page object model. Okay, so in page factory, tester use @find by annotation. So the framework which I have created, the my store project, using page factory only. So what is the difference between page object model and page factory? So you can just refer the answer which I have given over here. What are the advantages of page object model? So covered in question number 28. In page object model, how to pass value from one page to another page. So passing another page object, so how you can do that? Try to initiate the page objects in your test and use it from there. Okay, so to do, just don't return the dashboard object from the submit method. Okay, so basically when we switch from one page to another page, we return the object, right? So that's how we can pass the value from one page to another page. So you can refer my framework, guys, from the first video. You can understand like how we can return the object of the landing page. There I have explained clearly. Explain what is data driven framework. So this is data driven related. So data-driven framework is a test automation framework which stores test data in a table or spreadsheet format. So we talked about a lot about the data-driven framework. So I have created the video as well uh, in my YouTube channel. Okay, so you can refer the playlist and you can see about you can check out about the data-driven testing, why we use the data-driven testing. Okay, explain what is keyword-driven framework. So keyword-driven framework, I have not created any videos, so probably we'll discuss in coming days, but this is not very important because nowadays it's deprecated. No, I mean most of the companies are using data driven framework with page object model, so this framework is not very important. How can you prepare customized HTML report using TestNG hybrid framework? So I have created a blog, created a post on this, so you can refer this link. How can you generate HTML report from your test script? So simple HTML report, so you can refer this blog only and you can understand. Write a code for reading and writing Excel through Selenium. So this is the YouTube video guys, so you can refer. Already I have explained in this particular video about how to write and read Excel from Excel. Okay, how to use map collections in your Selenium project, give examples. So yeah, so clearly I have explained in this particular video when I have created the framework, so you can refer this particular video. How to use hash map in your test. Yeah, so Selenium framework development part 9. So this is the video, usage of collection in framework development, so you can refer this link. How do you read and write into a PDF file? So I have highlighted this question, so probably I'll answer this later on. What is the folder structure, and I'll create the video on this as well. What is the folder structure of your framework and explain each folder. So the first video of the framework series I explained about the framework architecture, so you can refer this video. What do you use for reporting in your Selenium project? So for reporting we have extend report, okay, to generate the report in a proper manner in extend report. So here I have explained that. What is the data provider and what is its return type? So data provider returns a two-dimensional Java object to the test method and test method to the test method, okay, and will invoke m times in a m into n type of object array. So for example, if the data provider returns an array of 2 by 3 objects, so the corresponding test case will be invoked two times. So this is m and this is n, so the test case will be executed two times with 3 parameters in each time. So 3 parameters, 2 times it will be executed. So about data providers, everything we have used in our framework, so you can refer all these videos guys. And data driven testing also, and there are two ways we can parameterize our test. One is through parameters tag from XML file, and another way is using data provider. So how to create the reusable methods for reading the data from Excel files. So refer complete Excel library. So let me show you in my so in utility class we have this new Excel library Java class. So this you can find in the GitHub. I have already provided. So this is the complete Excel library where you can read, write everything using that library. How to create the reusable methods for reading the data from XML files. So probably I'll answer this question later on. What is an interface and where you have used in a framework? So this is, I think this already we have covered interface, yeah, and this is the link. In the last video we have used, I guess, the framework series. Draw the architecture of framework implementing page object model and its usage. Okay, so framework architecture already I have explained in the first video of the framework creation, so you can refer the video. Why do you go for page object model and what is its purpose? So you can refer. It's a design pattern which is commonly used in Selenium for automating the test cases. The page object is object-oriented class which act as an interface for the pages or the page of your application or a test. What do you what have you done to improve the performance of Selenium framework, or how to make Selenium WebDriver scripts faster. So there are multiple things that can improve Selenium WebDriver script. So these are the different things, guys, I have listed down here. So use always fast selectors, use fewer locators, create automatic atomic test, don't test the same functionality twice, write good test, use only explicit waits, use Chrome driver. So these are the different things you can go through, and you can explain at the time of interview, like what are the things which you can improve as part of your framework. We have heard about frameworks. Well, it can be broadly classified into these TDD, BDD, and ATDD frameworks. What's the difference? So basically, TDD is development technique that focuses more on implementation of a feature, whereas BDD is focuses on the behavior aspect of the system rather unlike the TDD that focuses on implementation aspect of the system. Okay, so that is BDD. And acceptance test driven development. So ATDD stands for acceptance test driven development, is an extension of BDD. I can say is very similar to behavioral driven development. However, a key difference between them is BDD focuses more on the behavior of the feature, whereas ATDD focuses on capturing the accurate requirements. What is the difference between data driven and modular framework? So modular, you can just go through this answer. So in modular frameworks, the application can be divided into different modules which can be tested independently. So we already talked about the modular framework on top, and then this is data driven framework, which we already know. So these are the different questions, guys. These are really important questions as that at the time of interview to explain. So some of the questions are duplicated, but yeah, they can ask in a different way, the same question in a different way. Okay, so you need to just go through all the questions which I have listed down over here, and the framework which I have created in my YouTube channel. So you can just refer. Let me show you where you can get. So if you navigate to Automation Test Insider and just navigate to playlist, and here we have a Selenium framework from scratch. So you can refer the complete framework development from scratch using this playlist. You need to just go through one by one all these videos, you can understand better. And there is another video, Selenium hybrid framework overview. So this is an overview of the it will give you a complete idea of what are the different components in a framework. So you can refer this video as well, and I'll provide this link in the description box of this video, guys. And yeah, if you're new to this channel, Automation Testing Insider, then please subscribe this channel and click the bell icon to get the notification for upcoming videos. So yeah, I think we have covered all the questions, guys, in this Selenium related question series. And probably I have started explaining the things from here, scenario based in some tricky questions, TestNG, Maven, Git, GitHub, Jenkins. Okay, and probably I'll explain the answers which I have already given in my blog. Okay, so regarding Selenium and automation testing, Selenium locators, so probably I'll explain those answers as well. But anyways, you'll find all the answers over here. You can just go through one by one all the answers, and in case of any doubts or any queries if you have, then please comment in this in the comment box of this video, and you can write me email as well. So thank you guys for watching. Have a nice day. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.